Today marks 17 years since Nex-Tech Wireless first launched service, and we've been keeping Kansans connected ever since. In an industry that is in constant state of fluctuation, we've seen our fair share of changes over the years. Devices once thought the pinnacle of cell phone technology have become outdated, and the latest phones do a lot more than just make calls. So let's take things back for a bit and look at what phones were like during our early years. A group of longtime employees shared their thoughts on some of the early devices we carried and their first phones with Nex-Tech Wireless.
Technology has changed a lot over the years. It's gone from this being the smartphone of its day to this being the smartphone of today. And to call this a smartphone in respect to this one is almost an insult. So the AudioVox 6600 was the first PDA device we carried. We carried this phone from the inception of the company. We carried it for about a year. It was unique to the wireless industry at its time. It was the quote-unquote first smartphone that was out. It served a great purpose. It was great for emails, simple texting, some picture messaging. But in respect to a newer, more modern phone, it fails in comparison to what we sell today.
My first phone that I had when I started working with Nex-Tech Wireless actually was the phone I got when I was a customer, and then I became an employee. So it was the HTC 6900. It was like this big, and it had a touch screen with like a home button, but the touch screen was not very responsive, and you had to use the stylus to do everything, and the keyboard letters were not much bigger than the stylus. Not fun to text on or search anything on.
When I first started Nex-Tech Wireless, I had this phone, flip phone. It was about 11, 12 years ago, and when I first started, we were just starting to go into the 3G technology world. So the very first Android that came out was Android 1, and it was an HTC phone that we had. It was a neat experience going from 1X technology to 3G technology and actually being able to download apps for the first time instead of just having something on a flip phone, you know.
The first smartphone I had with the company was the Samsung Galaxy S2. So that was my first smartphone ever, so that was a pretty big adjustment for me. I know everybody kind of laughed when I was using the browser on that Samsung to use Facebook instead of the actual app for Facebook. So that was a pretty big adjustment for me.
My first phone that I got here when I started working at Nex-Tech Wireless was a Motorola Razr. It was plum with a gold interior. It was a really fancy phone. We laugh about it. It was $19.99 for a mobile power pack for data on a phone at that time, and we just thought, how ridiculous. Who would spend $20 a month on each line to have data on your phone? What foolishness that was. And here we are 17 years later. We all have data on our phones and don't think anything of it.
My very first phone that I had here when I first started was an iPhone 5. Back when I first started, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But then technology has changed since then, and now it's, I like to enjoy the bigger phones now.